Hello, I'm Rob Grimes, the CEO of the IFBTA, and I'm very pleased today to host our Meet Our Member series with Chris Adams, the Global Head of Food and Beverage Strategy for Oracle, one of our first global industry partners. So, Chris, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Rob.
There are a lot of surprises, and there are a lot of things, that came about, during this period of time. So, what is it that you go to your management about, and you sit there and say, "I am really, really hot, on this new, technology or this new thing that we should be doing"? Is there some that you can share with us? Some really big idea now you've seen from some other part of the world, from one of your partners, from one of the other industries that Oracle works in, that you're sitting there saying, strategy-wise, this is where we got to be going forward?
Yeah, I won't give too much away of our kind of, industrial secrets, but certainly, look, the conversation that we've been having more and more is just around what does that customer experience look like in the future? And so again, tapping into what we have across industries that are frankly, well ahead of food and beverage, even now. Yeah, I think about retail, banking. And so, a lot of our time is spent looking at what could we take from that and imbue into our product set to maybe drive what the next gen experience looks like. Talking about supply chain, we're having a lot of conversations about, well, what does hardware look like in the future? The idea of a physical workstation, how far does that go? Where does voice live in all of that? Could you literally just have natural speech, order gets entered into the system and flows all of the way through to the supply chain? So that's a lot of the conversation. The supply chain side is the other side. As we see the awakening of a lot of markets, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on supply chain, whether it's simple availability, but already we're seeing inflation being discussed more and more in some of our markets. So how can we kind of take supply chain, which is typically been something that's not focused on a whole lot in the kind of restaurant dynamics, and how can we bring again some of our experience in kind of global ERP and distill and democratize that down to an individual restaurant? So some pretty.
Well, I want to make sure that I didn't miss any of the key points there, because what you're reminding us is that in the world of Oracle, that there are a lot of different places that you do work. And you've already mentioned, artificial intelligence in there. You mentioned voice in that. We've seen some restaurant companies actually investing and buying companies that are in AI or drive-through. And we're looking at connected vehicles right now. And I know there's a lot of work that's done there. And then all the work that Oracle does, I believe, in healthcare, which really ties together, the wellness, safety, security. Those are probably all things that are in your toolkit. And while you might not share them with us, hopefully they're being shared with you, so that you can go take a look behind the scenes and see what applies.
I've got some lucky guys on my team who all they do is go shopping across the broader Oracle set, and there's some really exciting things out there. Like you say, it might be tech, kind of the solution looking for the problem, and I think AI and machine learning still sits in that category to some extent. But yeah, I mean, some of them just being applications with a slight tweak. You can go from it being a healthcare management system to a table reservation system. And so it's some really exciting things that
it's how the communities connect with each other.
Absolutely. And again, right. You throw into there then the ecosystem partners, and you're starting to get some really interesting conversations of how can you take these startups, how can you take a global transaction platform and kind of bring it all together. There's some cool things.
And I do see the ecosystem partners as sort of an interesting thing. I mean, even at Connect, you had the people that were operating the airports, and then you talk about hotels, and then you talk about retail, and then you talk about food and beverage, and then you talk about healthcare, safety. And you put all those things together and you look at an ecosystem of a person, for instance, that travels or even just goes around town. And if they're all connected, in there, that is the consumer experience, but it's also consumer opportunity. And we're not sitting here talking about how do I do more for my servers, my kitchen personnel, my management. We're actually talking about how we're connecting the consumer and their experience.
And I think we're all going to be dealing with much better educated consumers, Rob. Like if you think about the last 12 months of people sitting at home ordering off one of the aggregators and being able to track exactly where their food is in the process and where it is until it arrives in their hands. We're seeing the same demands come now from the hotel space or cruise, that even on cruise, someone ordering poolside drinks. Where are my drinks? And being able to track that back to the the bartender. And so I think, the education that's happened amongst the consumers, they're going to want that, regardless of the food and beverage experience they have in the future.
Well, listen, I don't want to bring us down, but I think there's one other thing that we probably should talk about that I believe is important in the systems that you're bringing forward, and that's data security and security for the individual. I think people, when they were throwing all these things together and all the solutions, we may have forgotten some of those regulations that were coming down in other parts of the world, because I don't hear them talk much in the past year, and people put down their guard, right? But I also think that the more data that's out there, and you're talking about Symphony as a cloud solution and all the solutions going that way, and the connectivity and the APIs, I mean, where do you see that strategy going, and how do you see that Oracle, and Symphony, quite frankly, is able to address it? Because that's going to be a bigger issue with more connected consumers in the experience as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky in so much as it's not even a decision I need to make. It's a non-negotiable for us at Oracle that security is just front and center of everything we do. So the very idea of building cloud solutions or APIs that isn't going to keep that data secure for our customers is just not something that we ever discuss. So and we're so lucky that all of that infrastructure, all of the standards, all of the compliance, whether that's from kind of ethical hacking, back to how we're managing PCI and the like. I think it is something that our industry's exposed. I think we've already seen examples of people wanting to get access to what is very valuable data. And so I think the balancing act that our industry is going to have to make as we continue to try and do more with less. How do you get that balance right? And again, cloud is there where it's you don't need to worry about it. Let someone like us take care of that for you.
But I think there's a message in that, big or small, that if you're going with your platform, if you're going with Symphony, if you're buying the other add-on products through your partners, that piece of it is taken care of. You really don't need to think about the challenges of the security side if it's coming through your channel directly or indirectly through your partners. That's actually been thought of. That's one less thing to think about.
Absolutely. And it is something that, whilst the headlines focus on the large enterprise guys that get hacked, make no mistake, it's the single unit guy that, is in the crosshairs of, the nefarious people out there trying to get to it. So as you say, from big to small, it's something that, you want it just to be taken care of.
But the interesting thing is, unlike the past, which you and I know a lot about, a small operator is able to take advantage of the development and what the bigger operators are doing. They're able to compete much more effectively today than they could have 10 years ago because of the infrastructure and the way and the structure of the system, and how changes can be made very easily, including adding new functionality and features literally, overnight.
And it used to be, certainly in our world, that as an operator, you only got serious about point of sale once you got to a certain size. And frankly, until that point, it's like, well, I'll choose the cheapest or the one that a friend that I know already has. The challenge there is you would hit like an artificial ceiling. And so, yeah, I mean, the focus, like I mentioned before, for us is let people enjoy the kind of the democratizing of that technology, so that you can, take someone like us who's invested in it across all industries and get all of the benefits of that without having to go and invest like the enterprise guys. And then as you grow, just turn on the things that you want. but you can literally get on the ladder from.
Right.
from
So
the
you can
first
get
one.
as much as you need. You can get the other pieces turned on when you're ready for them. It's not a matter of upgrading the hardware and things like that down at the, at the level. It's really much different environment today. In your world, if you're talking to people who are thinking about using Oracle or who are existing Oracle customers that want to think about what's next, what is the advantage that you would tell them, because they're a customer, they're going to be a customer, of things that they now can take advantage of going forward, the new opportunities that have opened up over the last 12 months that you are in place to either move them up to or bring them into?
Yeah, I mean, the key message I would reiterate is just talk to us. I mean, we are in this for the long haul. We're again lucky that we're not, kind of venture capital funded, where it's a let's try out an idea and 3 years from now, hopefully we'll all get rich. And so we see this as something that we're in this together for the life of our customers. And let's take all of the investment that we've made from a tech, from an infrastructure, from a security, and from a global experience, Rob, of having to run this in 160 countries, 9 different segments, and let's help our customers put that to good use. And so I would say just reach out and have a conversation, whether it's a net new customer or a conversion from an old customer. And hopefully you'll be surprised with what you see. You'll see something that's very different to maybe the assumptions or the experiences of the past.
Right. Well, listen, what I've gotten from this conversation today, is really thinking about big or small, across industry, how things have really come together, but also the acceleration of technology, the data security side of it, the partnerships. I think that there's probably a lot of different pieces. Maybe you're right, because you had said early on that there are preconceived notions or perceptions, especially when you have the name Oracle, out there. But whereas some might see that as the big company only working with the enterprise, actually the message I think you're delivering is, whether big or small, down to the individual operator, you can take advantage of all of the experience, the investment, and things that have been made in the past, sort of as a trusted partner to grow.
And when I think of that, that food truck on the beach down in the Bahamas running one workstation, I absolutely, remember that we're not just here for the big guys.
Well, listen, Chris, it's been great speaking with you today. We greatly appreciate, Oracle's global support of us as a global partner since the beginning. And we appreciate your sharing sort of the strategy piece of it, as to where you're seeing things, where they've been in the last year, and also where things are going and what opportunities people have. And I think I would just sort of close with the piece that you said a few minutes ago, which is you want people to just get in touch and have the conversation, big or small.
We'd love that. No, thanks for your time, Rob.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And on behalf of the IFBTA, we hope you've enjoyed our Meet Our Member series with Oracle and with Chris Adams, the Global Head of Food and Beverage Strategy. And we look forward to seeing all of you again soon in person for the next interview. So thank you very much for joining us today.